Good evening, Papua New Guinea, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Business PNG. We continue our coverage of the 2019 PNG Investment Week with a panel discussion on the next wave of entrepreneurs in Papua New Guinea and the innovative ways they conduct business.
Now, last year there was a lot of excitement amongst the female Papua New Guineans in terms of a burgeoning fashion industry. I noticed a good number of our female colleagues at the MSME Summit and involved in APEC throughout the year. So the creative industry continues to grow. and we're increasingly seeing designers taking our culture and creativity abroad. Your startup takes single sourcing seriously, where many of your products are sourced directly from women's groups right across the country. Can you tell us how this model is operating and where do you see the transformation occurring?
Sure, thanks David. Not just women, a lot of men are involved as well. Happy to say that. Just a bit of background. Miss Papua New Guinea is a retail shop that's based at Vision City, but before I began the retail shop, I ran PNG Fashion Week. The idea, the necessity of Miss PNG grew out of that particular platform. What I try to do with that platform is to be very inclusive. I've created it so that it's now nationwide. I go to Ley, to Enga, to different parts of Papua New Guinea to look for talent, to reach out to women and men in this industry. And I create a national platform, PNG Fashion Week, for them to come and display and showcase what they have and find marketing opportunities. But I saw that it wasn't enough to have just a week. It wasn't enough to just have the hype of the news for that one week. So thanks to our partnerships with the different organizations we have in Vision City, we were able to secure a space that provided a solution to this problem. Many of these women find that it's unsafe to sell at markets sometimes, and then of course transporting their stock from wherever they are all over the country to Port Moresby is very expensive, and sometimes they have market opportunities, sometimes they don't. So we wanted to create a space where they can have access to a huge market. It's not, there's plenty of other markets, but we wanted to give them an option of having a space at Vision City. And yes, we do source from Papua New Guineans because we believed in buying local and creating opportunity for our local women and men in this industry, and boosting our economy and keeping money within. There's so much opportunity there. We've been in operation for about 6 months, and we've generated quite an income for all our stockists. We have over 22 women and men who stock at Miss PNG. This model has proven successful so far. We're in 6 months. I'm a bit nervous, but we'll see how we go. And yeah, it really reaches out and it gives opportunities to quite a lot of people on a platform that they otherwise would not have had the opportunity to be.
So when you look at grassroots communities in the regions of our country, and you see the women folk making product on in the villages along the side of the roads, how do you actually bring that to the world in terms of a buyer market?
Papua New Guinea is the final frontier, and fashion, of course, in Papua New Guinea is something that the world has yet to see. I try to go to these places, identify women who make these particular arts and crafts, see the potential of that marketing in Port Moresby, and it's proven successful. They're very unique. Every province is so unique in what they can create. I went to Alatau just recently, and they created pot plants out of shells in the water. It's amazing for me to see sustainability. Even this necklace is from Panacea. So the sustainability and the length and breadth of this industry is something that is huge in terms of potential. So we identify these women. I try to create a space so they don't just come and put their stuff in the shop. We market, we promote, we try to help with transporting these goods to the shop. It is for everyone. It's basically for everyone to try and test the market and see how they can do.
And to the problems identified by Javier in terms of cash and the whole payment stuff, do you experience any of that, given the people that you deal with?
Absolutely. Many of our current stockists are new to this industry. Not the industry, but the sales and the marketing and all that. So they're a bit nervous. It takes me a while to encourage them, to educate them on this platform and how they can use it to maximize their business, maximize their potentials. So that's a difficult part. Of course, getting the word out and I guess technology, in terms of making them accessible to social media and other marketing tools is an issue as well for me to teach them and get them knowledgeable.
So you're experiencing the same sort of problems? It's growing a little quicker than you thought?
Absolutely, it's massive.
And you think that the electrification and the cheap internet that we've been talking about yesterday, I guess it makes that problem bigger, but then again it makes that opportunity bigger, right?
Absolutely, everything is an opportunity for me. So I see a great opportunity. It makes it a bit more difficult, but it lifts our game and it allows our stockers to also develop their quality and their content, and just makes it better.
Great film, good story.
I'm Leah Gerari in Lorengau, and you're watching Business PNG.
If you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, you'll see that number 6 is around water sanitation, which is a big issue here in PNG, particularly for our rural communities. Jade Worsley is from Seco Network, and they're doing some remarkable work in that space of sanitation, which, as I said, remains a major challenge here in Papua New Guinea, where much of the costs, where waterborne diseases are high. So these social entrepreneurs from PNG and Australia have been using their talent, resources and passion to build a toilet that saves communities. So Jade, please, would you share with us the remarkable journey and what the impact of the product will be?
Thanks a lot for having me on this panel. It's a pleasure to be here. So our group of PNG and Australian social entrepreneurs is called Seco Network, and we are a PNG not-for-profit NGO based in Port Moresby, but we work in water, sanitation and hygiene all across the country. So that is our primary focus because, as you mentioned in the question, David, issues around water and sanitation are quite significant in Papua New Guinea. And in fact, 48% of the population at the moment don't have access to safe drinking water. And 70% of the population don't have access to safe sanitation facilities. So, I mean, if we just pause for a moment and reflect on those statistics, they're quite confronting. I mean, imagine 7 in every 10 people in this room not having ongoing access to a safe toilet. It's very confronting, and of course the lack of access to safe and adequate sanitation facilities then has a flow-on effect of various other adverse health outcomes and things like that. So those statistics are actually really important to understand in order to see the market space that Seco Network and the Seco Dry Toilet is filling. So at Seco Network, we work in 3 main areas of work, but one area of work is community development at a village level, carrying out water, sanitation and hygiene projects. So for instance, that's projects that partner with communities to get access to safe drinking water, hygiene education, safe sanitation facilities. We have a very strong focus on gender equality and social inclusion, so we have programs that focus on female empowerment, and we'll do things like distributing reusable menstrual female hygiene kits in remote and rural places where women won't normally have access to those things. Quite a while ago, we started sanitation projects partnering at a village level, trying to empower local families to build their own pit latrines. But we came across issues very quickly because a lot of the families were either unable to build a latrine, or they would build it and then would come back to check up on them, and the toilets would be decommissioned or out of use. Sometimes they would last less than 6 months. And so the reason why this was happening was because this particular village was in a high water table environment, which made it very difficult to build pit toilets. Now, when we were looking into the issue, we quickly found, we quickly found that issues around high water table environments weren't just restricted to that one community, but it's actually a widespread issue that many communities and villages throughout PNG experience. So the way that high water tables impact sanitation, particularly with building pit latrines, for instance, is that you'll dig a metre or so into the earth and then hit water. And so you need, obviously, a hole that's far more than a metre deep in order to build a safe latrine. And if you do, in a high water table area, build a pit latrine like that, it can contaminate other water sources and the water can surge, and there are a whole heap of health and sanitation risks involved. So as a result, communities often resulted in using sanitation practices that are actually quite dangerous. But I'd just like to really emphasise that it's because they often don't have access to a safe option. And that really ties back into the statistic that I shared earlier on around the 70% not having a safe toilet. That's often because they don't have access to a safe toilet. So in response to this, Seco Network, we went on a bit of a journey, partnering with the University of New South Wales and other research partners to try and find an innovative response to this development challenge. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel if the wheel already existed. So we went through a process of trialling and testing existing toilet products, both ones that are available in country, and we also ship some in from out of country. And the criteria that we were looking for to find an appropriate alternative to pit latrines was a toilet product that was safe, sustainable, affordable and accessible to villages and communities throughout PNG. Now, unfortunately, during our process, we didn't find a toilet product that really adequately met all of those criteria, and that's when we began developing our own product. It surprisingly was never our intention to develop a new product, but that's sort of where we ended up in response to the problem. So since then, Seco Network has spent the past 5 years designing, testing and trialling a new toilet called the Seco Dry Toilet. And we're very excited to soon be launching the product, and in August it will be available for public sale in hardware shops across the country. Just a brief summary on the actual Seco Dry Toilet. So it's not a composting toilet, it's a urine diverting dehydration toilet. So the dehydration toilet technology is an old technology that's actually been around for a long time and widely used across the world. But what we've done is we've taken that old technology and appropriated it to the PNG context in terms of local materials and design. So it is made out of the same plastic material that tougher tanks are made out of. So it can last around 15 years, or the same lifespan as a tougher tank. It's waterless and chemical free. You just add ash after doing a poo, and yeah, you don't need to do anything else. And it doesn't smell, it's easy to use and maintain, and it's also been designed in quite a compact, lightweight design so that it can fit in the back of banana boats and cars and things like that, so it's accessible. Now I want to talk about the crucial role that business partnerships have played in keeping Seco Network alive and making these things possible for us. So, for example, Seco Network is really proud to be partners with steamships and consort express lines. So they've actually fully funded the latest Seco Dry Toilet model and made it possible for us to manufacture the toilet and release it to the public market. Now, as an NGO, that would not have been possible for us without that business partnership. So it's really played a very important role in allowing us to pursue this social enterprise. And in terms of the business partnership, it's not just the Seco Dry Toilet venture that steamships and consort express lines have partnered with Seco Network in. Our relationship actually began over 7 years ago when Consort Express started supporting us in funding and providing opportunity for us to do community development projects across the country. Seco Network also has other business partners that have supported us and enabled us to do the work that we're doing, such as CPL Group, Pixar, UNSW, NARI and KK Kingston. So in all of this, I suppose I want to make the point that it's important to see the way that mainstream businesses have played a very large role in enabling the social enterprise of Seco Network and the Seco Dry Toilet. And yeah, they've been an incredible enabler for us. So something that is obvious and well documented, I'm sure everyone in this room knows, is that alleviating poverty actually boosts the economy and enhances business activity. So that is the reason why it's worthwhile in investing in that space.
I'm Leanne Gerari in Honolulu, and you're watching Business PNG.
So from social initiatives to adventure, and one of the priorities announced in recent years here in PNG, and certainly a priority of our current government, the Moresby-Stevens government, is tourism and adventure tourism. We all know that PNG is the land of the four-wheel drive, apart from being the land of the unexpected. And adventure tourism has long been the attraction of many folk around the world. It now seems trekking and driving have a new cousin, and that's off-road adventures. Paiwa Baldwin, our fourth guest, is here. And Paiwa, we need to be careful. We've got some work to do on road infrastructure. But the interest is gaining momentum. So tell us, Expeditions PNG and your future.
Yeah, thank you, David. And I'd just like to say, listen to our panelists here and some of the challenges and issues that they've faced and seen and provided solutions for. Actually does, for me personally, it does tie in with our bigger vision, and particularly enjoyed the education about pit toilets and sanitation issues, and I'll get to that as I go on. But look, we basically started only a year ago, and a group of about 7 or 8 of us like-minded young Papua New Guineans, and we went out just as a social day, bush bashing in the mud, and we just decided to make some videos, and they turned out to get a bit of a following, and one thing led to another, and now we seem to be knocking on the door of this opportunity that actually expands not just from tourism, but all the way down to social initiatives and community development, and we're pretty proud of that. So for Wheeling PNG, our main focus and goal is to produce media and highlight the important role of four-wheel drive vehicles and what they've played to the development of the country because of a lot of the challenges we've faced with road infrastructure. And because of that lack of road infrastructure, some of the development issues that can come from that. So, you know, we mainly want to highlight the importance that those vehicles play in society today. And they really are a true connector of opportunities, okay? Now, I've got so many examples of, even just outside of Moresby, you know, you only have to drive within Moresby to experience some pretty hardcore four-wheel driving. And then you only have to go when the rains come in and, you know, you're looking at your bonnet thinking, where's my snorkel? Then that can get pretty tricky. But I mean, just even outside of the boundaries of Port Moresby, you know, we live in basically a province that's actually got everything. Central Province has the Highlands, okay, so we just recently went on a trip in September, October with Central Governor Robert Agarobe, Bruce Mamando, and also the Port Moresby Motorcycle Club, and I was completely astonished. I'd never actually been up to the Highlands of Central Province, and they were saying, no, we have the Highlands. I was like, where? All I know is the beaches and the coast, and, you know, my mum's village is a 5.5-hour drive towards Alatau, and there is not a mountain in sight. And we went to this place called Tarpini, and I'm sure the long-timers here in the room in PNG probably heard of Tarpini, or they've been to Tarpini about 20 years ago. Now, getting there by plane is only a 20-minute flight, and you're at, you know, the same altitude as Goroka and even Mount Hagen in some areas. And it is some of the most spectacular scenery you've ever seen in this country. Now, getting there by road, that's a different story, okay? So, and it's got a really rich history. I mean, Tarpini, I don't think people know about this, or the whole Goilala area, was basically, there's a lot of history steeped in the first Catholic missionaries, you know, settling basically on the Hiri coast, and then making their way inland all the way through the mountains over a 5-6 year period. And when you get to Tarpini, after a 12-hour drive, okay, in good weather, if we had bad weather and it was raining, it would have taken probably 18 hours. Over about 4 or 5 mountain ranges, you're crossing 4 bridges, there's 1 water crossing. It's unbelievable, it's an adventure. But then when you get there, you just feel like you're somewhere else. It's truly spectacular. And there's a lot of history there. So that's just one place I'm talking about in Papua New Guinea. Now there's 1,000, maybe thousands of other places like that. And I think because of that, because we created the videos, you know, showcasing that, it wasn't so much about, you know, playing in the mud or bush bashing. It was about people finally got to see media and footage of how beautiful their country was, and they became proud of that. So that's in essence what we do. And in doing that, we've seen the opportunities not just for four-wheel driving, but there's also opportunities and a symbiosis between what we do and you know, hopefully what the Moresby government wants to do in terms of agriculture. Okay, so I'm going to answer that question about the roads now, David. Put frankly, we need the roads built as well. And everyone needs the roads built, and including us, because we can't actually have a touring industry, a 4x4 touring industry, without giving access to some of the really, really remote, beautiful places outside of major centres. And that also, if we build the roads, then we will be able to give access to, you know, a lot of the rural communities that are growing peanuts, that are growing sweet potato, you know, all those consumable vegetables. And we're talking, there's tons and tons of that being produced every day, and everywhere. I mean, even in Goilala, yet we still have to import a lot of our food into Moresby. So there's a symbiosis between what we do and some of the opportunities that the government wants to really capture. Okay, and that's agritourism. So yeah.
And that's all we have for this episode of Business PNG. For more information, or if you would like to watch the episode again, visit MTV Online at the URL at the bottom of your screen, or to simply join the conversation, like our page on Facebook, or follow us on Twitter at the Twitter handle at Business PNG. Until next week, have a pleasant evening. I'm Leanne Jarari, and this was Business PNG.